Hey guys, welcome back to the Horror Academic. Today I'm talking about the movie Carrie. This is like the third version of Carrie from 2013. Um, I'll have to be honest, I tried watching it last night and it didn't really keep my interest, and I guess I was kind of tired anyway, so I ended up rewatching it this morning to see what I missed. And I don't know, I can't quite put my finger on what's missing, if that makes any sense. I mean, it's really hard when you remake a movie that's like, De Palma's Carrie from '76. I mean, it's not a perfect movie, but it's definitely the kind of movie that is iconic and everybody remembers. And, Sissy Spacek at the prom, I mean, that's any actress who's going to take that on is going to have a tough time. But, the movie, I don't know. I mean, I guess they're trying to follow the source material, but not too closely to be exactly the same movie. There's definitely things that are dropped that I liked in the book, that I would have liked to seen in this that maybe they didn't have time for in the original version. I'll put it this way. There's certain decades that lend themselves better to certain types of films, and this is probably just me being old, but high school films in the 70s have a totally different vibe than high school films are going to have in the 2000s. Even 2013, I mean, it's not like it's early 2000s that it's that old yet, but I just feel like I don't have a clear identification of the girls separately, where in 76, it's very clear, who Sue is, who Chris is. I mean, obviously Carrie, but even like PJ Soul's character, like all these girls have different identities, and it's very clear to me who they are. Differences in the way they walk, the way they talk, the way they dress, all these kind of attitude changes. And too many of the girls in this version blend together to me that I don't see like characteristics come out. Yeah, I mean, you got the twins, so they stand out because they're twins. It takes a minute for me to realize, Chris she does not come across to me as the same way that she does in earlier versions, where she's like the obvious, I guess, spoiled rich kid who's, super pretty, super likable. I don't know if okay, let me take back likable for Chris, but like she's the kind of character that has always been in the in crowd, even if she's a little bit more intense or edgy than the other girls. She's definitely has a bad streak. But I think it took a minute for me to kind of acknowledge that in a way, except for her cursing back at her teacher. The girl who plays Sue in this was kind of for most of the film. I don't think she really started to become a character of her own until later. And she really starts to separate herself from the other girls. And you see maybe a little bit more remorse in her in this version, but yeah, it took me a while to really kind of identify her character better. The kid who plays her boyfriend, Tommy, the guy who actually takes Carrie to the prom, I thought, he was bugging me, like, I know who this kid is. And then I looked it up, and he's the guy from Baby Driver. So that was cool. And he's a charismatic kind of guy. He gets put in roles where he has like some sort of dance or music kind of edge to him. But I thought that was cool. He was good. He was believable. Once they get, he doesn't really have much character until they get to prom. And then you start to see him actually realize there's nothing wrong with Carrie. And I think he plays that much better in this version than in previous versions of the film, where you can tell it's like he may not be falling for her, but he's beyond just feeling bad for her. He likes her, So I thought they pulled that off well. The prom in general was done well. The girl who plays Chris in this, you see a lot more. That's where you see remorse and difference in this character of Chris, is that in the past she's just kind of pissed off at everybody and just burn it all down. I don't care anyway. In this, she's, you can definitely tell the pangs of regret of man, I'm not getting my prom. Like, she's looking at it like, I wish I was there. And she has this look in her eyes in this version that I think was portrayed well. So I think maybe the film has a very slow start, and then the teenage characters don't really find their footing until they hit the prom, and then I think it steps into place much better. But leading up to it, there's definitely a feeling that there's something missing. The girl that plays Carrie in this version, I'm gonna say her name wrong, so let me look at it because it's a little. Okay, Chloe Grace Moretz. Moretz? Yeah. She, she's okay. I don't know. I mean, that's one of those parts where I'm like, I don't know what's missing. I don't know what she's doing wrong. It's not that she's doing anything wrong. I think it's because we have SpaceX so strong in our heads of how she did it right, you know? But she comes off a little bland as Carrie to me. I actually thought, and I've said this before, that the Angela Beatus made for TV 2002 movie is a really strong version of Carrie. It's made for TV and it's Canadian TV, so it looks like you're just watching an episode of Degrassi. But I think the actors do a really good job, especially Beatus, of being strange and different. Where in this version of Carrie, she's just so meek. You know, it's like she's almost invisible, which is a good way to describe her life in high school. When she does start to get her powers, or at least understand her powers and try to use them and manipulate them, she's a little bit more like they're almost trying to paint her early on as becoming villainous in this version, I feel. And I don't know if that's just her expressions or her mannerisms, but once she starts to understand her powers, I feel they're already setting her up as the villain. Where I don't think that's necessary, because there's still supposed to be this point where you feel bad for Carrie, and I've really felt like, and I was having a hard time justifying this as I'm watching the prom scene, especially when it goes bad. Like, she seems more like calculated, and specifically picking out the people in the crowd that she wants to harm, and the way that she kind of walks down into like the face off against Chris and her boyfriend in the car is more intense. But I'm not sure if it's a benefit. And there's no need to make her as much a villain, because this movie has Carrie's mother in the original is extremely powerfully played, and it's just such an iconic, intense character. But Julianne Moore's playing of the mother in this version, she was so unhinged that, it was hard to watch certain sequences. Like, there's a lot of her inflicting pain on herself, far more than in previous versions I've seen of this story, to the point that I was cringing and I couldn't watch her hurt herself, which was intense. And that's like, again, it was Piper Laurie in the original. In this one, Julianne Moore she's an excellent actress, and you give her this role and she takes it to an extreme of, I'm a deranged woman, not so much as I'm a religious zealot. So, yeah, she's painfully good at this. And I mean that literally, because it was really hard to watch her. And you just kind of like, what she's going to do next, And they went a little off book. But there are certain sequences they kept completely intact. Carrie dressed for the prom, asking mom to put on her corsage, and of course mom's like, take the dress off. It would be red, but it's not even a red dress. Those types of things. I can see your dirty pillows. Those lines are still very much intact and portrayed well. There's huge chunks of the prom are word for word from the original, which I thought was cool. Little nods. A great little nod even was just like in the original, there's the sequence of everybody getting ready for prom, and Tommy and the guys are trying on tuxes, and he tries on the super ruffle powder blue shirt for his tux, which is a nice nod. So they do a lot of things right. So I'm not quite sure why this one doesn't capture me and doesn't make me as involved, and I'm not sure if it's just an age thing. If it's like these kids are too young for me to care. I'm sorry. But, so it's an okay movie. I'm not going to say it's a bad movie. It just didn't grab me. Okay? And that's probably my bias, because I like previous versions of the same story. So I'm going to say this is okay. This is pretty good. It just doesn't work for me. And that's a remake issue, probably. Quick plug, if you're interested in more talk about Carrie, I was a guest on a couple episodes on my friend Melissa's show, the Brook Reading Podcast, where we dissected Carrie, the book, the original movie. I talk a little bit about the Beatus version. And then her friend Sam from Over at Invasion, the podcast, talks about this version a little bit. So if you want more Carrie stuff, go to Brook Reading Podcast. All right. That's it for today, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye.